Hi, so welcome to the first episode of Book Reviews with me. So today we're going to be talking about a book that I am a little bit fond of. It's The Sorcerer's Secrets by Jason Miller. I feel like most people would probably know this book. It's not really new, but I just sort of reread it during the break, and I thought I would share some of my notes about it. So, Jason Miller is an American author. This book was published in 2009, so it wasn't his first book. He's been around for a while. From what I know of his story, he's basically been practicing magic for his entire life. I think he says his first experience was in the sandbox when he was 5 years old. Don't quote me on that, but he's basically had an active magical life for his whole life. Jason Miller doesn't belong to a specific... I was going to say he doesn't belong to a specific tradition, but I suppose you could say that he founded his own tradition. He runs what is called strategic sorcery. He offers a course called strategic sorcery, and basically it is a blended path. So it's informed by his experiences in Tibetan Buddhism, ceremonial magic. I've heard conflicting reports about whether his witchcraft experience was in a Wiccan coven or a non-Wiccan coven. But he was involved with some form of witchcraft at some point. He has hoodoo training. He's operated with groups in the OTO. Basically, he's just a really diverse and experienced dude. He has established groups which are still operating. I think there's an OTO or an OTO group that he started or was a key member in the founding of, but now he primarily operates the Strategic Sorcery community, which is an online community of his students, and there are some really, really cool people in there. It's full of like really knowledgeable and interesting people, and most of them are very, very generous with their time and knowledge. I mean, obviously within reason, but yeah. So my background with this book, I came across Jason Miller online when I was in high school. It was, I believe the website was a nominandum. So just before this one was actually published, and I found it online, and it was sort of the marketing for this book. And I remember looking at his website and some of the activity that was going on, and looking into people discussing his material. And it just kind of opened my eyes to this whole different mentality around magic. And suddenly it wasn't just this light a candle, make a wish thing, but it was sort of militant, I suppose. And I remember just being so hooked by what I was reading, but I was in high school, so I didn't have a credit card, and I couldn't order any of the materials online. And at that time, there was only one metaphysical bookstore within an hour of me, and it didn't stock Jason Miller books, so I kind of let go of it. And then I just moved back to Sydney from Nashville, so I must have been 22. So I bought the book online, and I believe around the same time I took his strategic sorcery course, and I've never really looked back. I've got a lot of respect for Jason Miller and his work, and the people attached to that. Yeah, just a lot of really good things. Anyway, so the number one takeaway from this book, as I've kind of hinted at, is essentially that magic and spiritual practices should be an integrated whole. So they're aimed towards something and should be in step with your life. And this book really opened my eyes to reconsidering the purpose of spellcraft and magic in general. So it was really, I suppose, contextualizing for me to not only put daily practice in context with the rest of my life, but then to look at individual spells as components towards a larger overarching objective, which was also part of my normal life. So it really brought together the mundane and the magical for me. That was definitely the number one takeaway. It's all about developing a strategy, and by extension, it's a very hands-on book. It's divided into two sections. So the first section is called Basic Training, and it deals with sort of maintenance or daily practices, energy work, invocation, stuff like that. And then the second section, which is the bulk of the book, is called Strategic Sorcery, which lays out the philosophy of Jason Miller's system. But then what I really like about this is that he breaks it down further into individual sections dealing with various examples of areas in which you could apply this philosophy and how that would look. And in so doing, he provides you with a large number of recipes and spells to try, as well as various illustrations of how formulating a specific strategy for a particular goal would look. So it's very well laid out, I think. And it's kind of like a spell book, but it's simply laid out to illustrate his philosophy and how it works so that you can make your magic more effective and cohesive. I think cohesion is probably the main thing about this book. The only thing I can really say against this book is that there are a couple of spelling errors and some editing issues, but they're so minor and the information is so good that I hardly feel like it's worth mentioning, unless you're a real, I don't know, like you're looking to pick out a problem. So there you have it. That's my review of The Sorcerer's Secrets by Jason Miller. It is an excellent book, and I highly recommend for those of you who are looking to expand your practice, your hands-on practice specifically. For those of you who are looking less for the sort of philosophical side of things and more for the application and the integration with your mundane lives, this is definitely an awesome book to get your hands on and would highly recommend.